Our next topic is going to be botnets. And botnets are essentially just networks of computers. And these are computers that are connected to the internet as well. And when I say computers, I don't necessarily mean that each of these devices are traditional personal computers like the boxes that everybody used to have at home with a monitor and a keyboard and a mouse. Nowadays, it can be anything that has a processor and has a way to connect to the internet. And these networks of devices, they're usually centrally controlled, and they're controlled by the owner of the botnet. Or sometimes, more rarely, they are peer-to-peer, where the different devices are communicating between themselves and figuring out what to do next. And of course, part of this is that the personal computers, the servers, the mobile phones, the routers, and many other types of devices, like a lot of the internet-connected devices that we have in our homes now, the IoT or Internet of Things devices as they're called, these are now in a compromised state. And what happens is that there are instructions that they weren't meant to follow, which were spread through malware, and perhaps because they were exploited. Like, for example, if you have a router that still has the default admin password, like admin or something like that, it is very vulnerable to someone attacking it and then placing their own instructions onto it and then subverting its programmed functionality and making it do its own bidding. And that's where the central control comes in, and that's where the botnet nature comes in. And what this means is that you now have a network of zombie computers. And these computers, they're not really in control of what they're doing. They're being controlled by these basic instructions that somebody gave them. And they very often are used just to attack. So like you would see in a movie where there's a crowd of zombies that just starts to go towards some target that they see. That's how some of these botnets operate. And very often it's difficult to track down who infected them and who's controlling them. But this is how they usually look. So we see that there are some different types of devices that are compromised, and they're all connected to the network. So there's phones, there's laptops, desktops, servers, and they're all operating through the internet. And we see that they're attacking another vulnerable computer. And oftentimes that vulnerable computer, it's connected to some valuable data. And that's what the owner of the botnet is either doing for themselves, or sometimes they will hire themselves out and their botnet out for a fee. And that's why they're doing this attack, is because somebody paid them money through some sort of underground illicit means in order to attack a particular network connected computer resource, like suppose a public website or even some secret server somewhere that is accessible through the internet. The zombies in the botnet are given a target and they coordinate and start attacking it using known vulnerability exploits. And sometimes what they actually do is, instead of something more sort of delicate, they do something that's much more brute force. And that's called distributed denial of service, or more commonly, and this is an important term to know in the cybersecurity world, DDoS. You'll hear DDoS a lot in security discussions. And what DDoS is when all of these computers start essentially starving the target of resources. So imagine if you suddenly have thousands and thousands of computers start to attack one computer by just requesting a bunch of stuff from it. Suppose it's a web server, and you suddenly have a lot more visitors to the site asking for some large documents or for some garbage data from that server. that is what a distributed denial of service looks like. And that's something that can really bring down the available resources of a system when it is being DDoSed. And that is a type of attack that is sometimes done just out of malice, just because somebody might not like a website or a service as revenge for something. Or sometimes it's done for ransom, where the owner of the site will get something like a threatening email saying, if you don't want to get DDoSed by my botnet, then pay up this much. And if they don't, then at some unpredictable time in the future, they get attacked by a botnet or maybe several botnets. So we're going to take a look next at how a bot might look and how it might behave once it is on a machine. And we're going to do that next.